Picture this. You're standing on the bank, staring into your tackle box, overflowing with every shade imaginable. Chartreuse this, black and blue that, white spinnerbaits next to chartreuse ones, and wondering why some days nothing works while the fish seem to love a certain color on others. What if I told you largemouth bass literally can't tell the difference between a lot of those colors? Science has proven it through decades of careful lab studies that bass have much narrower color world than we do. I'm Travis from Green Valley Anglers. With 30 years chasing these green fish from muddy farm ponds to crystal clear highland reservoirs, I've dedicated my life to learning everything I can about bass fishing. Right now, we're breaking down the real science of bass vision, what they actually see best, and how it changes the way I pick lures every single time I'm on the water. Stick with me. This knowledge has saved more trips for me than any new rod ever could. The basics of bass vision, human eyes versus bass eyes. Let's start with the foundation. How our eyes work compared to a largemouth bass. We humans have three types of cone cells in our eyes. One tuned to red, one tuned to green, and one to blue. That trichromatic setup lets us see millions of colors and shades in vivid detail. But bass, they only have two cone types, red sensitive and a green sensitive. According to the work from the University of Illinois in their 2018 to 2019 study published in Current Zoology, they have no blue cone at all. That means their vision is dichromatic. They see the world in a more limited palette, with reds and greens popping clearly, while blues, purples, and some yellows blend into grays or blacks. Think of it like looking through a pair of old school sunglasses with a heavy yellow tint. Reds and greens stay sharp and distinct, but everything else washes out or merges together. That's exactly how the early University of Illinois study described it. Bass vision mimics a human looking through a yellowish filter. I remember my early days on those farm ponds, chucking every color under the sun because that's what Bassmaster magazine said was hot. One afternoon, after a long skunk on some straight-tailed chartreuse worms, I switched to a basic red worm and bam, fish after fish. That moment planted the seed. Maybe it's not about having every color. It's about understanding what they can actually see and having the right color. And if you're missing that, it means wasting casts on lures that blend into the background when the fish are right there. Those rare windows where a single visible color could turn a slow day into a memorable one. But get it right, and suddenly your bites multiply because red and green stand out like beacons in their limited view, drawing them in from farther away and stacking hookups on even tough days. So if bass are wired for red and green, what does that mean for lures we throw every day? Let's look at the actual study results and how they play out on real water. Breaking down the studies, what the lab tests showed. The study from the Illinois Natural History Survey trained bass using a clever reward system. Approach the right color target for food or get a mild correction if wrong. They tested dozens of juvenile largemouth on colors like red, green, yellow, blue, black, and white. Fast forward to 2018-2019 follow-up from the same university, same basic method, but with modern technology to measure cone sensitivities directly. And they included both northern and Florida strain bass to check for differences. No strain variation was found. Vision is consistent across the populations. The big takeaways hold steady. Bass absolutely have color vision. They distinguish red and greens from grays and blacks with high accuracy. Red targets were nailed about 85% of the time when trained on it. Green was around 72%. They could tell a red from a green and a red from a black, a green from a white. Those long wavelength colors pop for them. But here's the game changer. When trained on black, bass often hit blue instead. And when trained on blue, they pick black. Same with white and chartreuse. They confuse them constantly, hitting the wrong one 25 to 30% of the time. And the early test work even showed they can't separate red from violet or purple. In other words, bass lump black-blue together, white chartreuse is similar, and red-purple as close cousins. They see red and green clearly. Everything else merges into shades of gray or dark. That explains why classics like green pumpkin jigs or red shad worms have been moneymakers for decades. They're built on the colors the bass detect the best. These were lab tests in clear water with controlled light. But out here, conditions shift every hour. So let's talk about how that science translates to muddy ponds, stained reservoirs, and sunny days. Real-world implications. Lure choices that match bass vision. The studies were done in crystal clear lab tanks, so scientists themselves noted the limits. Real water is dynamic, turbidity, algae, sediment, wind ripples, sun versus overcast, all filter light differently. Reds fade fast in depth, blues and greens penetrate farther, and murky water turns everything into silhouettes or contrasts. But the core science still guides us. Bass are visual predators first. They have to see the lure to commit. Red and green give you the best shot at grabbing attention because they stand out strongest in their two-cone world. I learned this the hard way years back on Clear Lake. Anybody who has been there knows it's not actually that clear. So anyways, the fish were ignoring my usual black-blue jig setup. I switched to a green pumpkin with red flake, and suddenly the bites came steady. Those two colors, the ones they see the clearest, cut through the murk like nothing else. Adapting like that doesn't just save a day, it multiplies your opportunity. Red and green lures get seen quicker, trigger more investigations, and stack quality fish when others are scratching their heads. 3 go-to categories to simplify your tackle box. 1. Prioritize red and green solids or mixes. Red worms, red shad crankbaits, vibrating jigs in red for summer craws, green pumpkins, watermelons, wacky rigs for all-around versatility. 2. Combine them in one lure. Watermelon red, like a green base with a red flake, a June bug, purple red with green flake. You cover both visual primaries, doubling detection odds across condition. 3. Treat white-black chartreuse as interchangeable buckets. Bass see them similarly, so focus on contrast or flash instead of subtle shades. Black-blue jigs work via translucency or flake, creating a sort of secondary action, but the big draw is silhouette in low light. And anybody who goes night fishing know that black crushes in night because of that silhouette. Flash, chrome, gold, silver, it acts like a strobe light, separating from color, great for drawing eyes through the water. In super clear conditions, go translucent for subtle silhouettes. When bites dry up, don't change microflakes, cycle through major buckets. Your red, your green, your white-black, with some flash, and let the fish tell you what they are seeing the best. So next time you're rigging up, remember, bass don't see your entire tackle box. They see red and green the sharpest, everything else in broader strokes. Let's wrap this with how to put it all together on your next trip. Your simplified color strategy. Here's my takeaway after 30 plus years. Over-fussing on tiny variations like chartreuse versus white or black versus black-blue matters less than we think because bass often lump them together. Instead, build around the colors they detect best. Red and green for visibility, then add flash or contrast for the rest. In clear water, lean natural greens and reds to mimic the forage. Have stained or muddy? Those same colors plus flash cut through better than subtle shades. Low light or deep? Silhouettes in black or white work wonders. My pond to lake journey taught me confidence beats complexity. Once I trusted the science and simplified to these buckets, my catch rates climbed steadily, even on tough days. It's not about having every color, it's about throwing the ones that stand out in their world. Experiment, observe, and let the bass tell you what works. They're the real experts. Here's a quick recap. Bass have dichromatic vision. Red and green pop the clearest, while black, blue, white chartreuse, and red, violet, purple often blend together. Prioritize those visible colors, mix them smartly, add flash when needed, and simplify when bites are slow. That science has changed how I fish forever, and it can do the same for you. Drop a comment on your favorite can't miss color and why. I'll jump in with thoughts from the water. Subscribe to Green Valley Anglers for my daily tip series and more real talk insight that help you catch more bass. Hit the bell so you never miss a pattern. Share this if it cleared up your tackle box. Let's keep putting more fish in the boat or on the bank. I appreciate you. Tight lines out there, and I'll catch you on the next one.